Good morning, everyone. Premier has some remarks, and then Chad Morrison will give an update on the fire, and then they'll be available to take your questions.
All right, thank you. And as well, I'm joined by Minister Danielle Larrabee and Scott Long from Alberta Emergency Management. So yesterday morning, we anticipated a very active fire day, and as you've all since heard, that's exactly what we got. There are 8 new wildfire starts in the last 24 hours. Currently, there are 19 wildfires burning, 5 are out of control, 3 are being held, 9 are under control, and 2 have been turned over to local authorities. Across the province, there are 1,950 firefighters, 208 helicopters, 29 air tankers, and 412 pieces of heavy equipment. The Peace River fire is 17,000 hectares and experienced minimal growth yesterday. The Greenview County fire is 900 hectares and also experienced almost no significant growth yesterday. And really hats off go to our wildfire fighters who did an excellent job in holding those 2 fires. The Slave Lake fire is now under control. Clear Hills County and Fox Creek are under an evacuation preparedness order, and the mandatory evacuation of Little Smoky has been lifted. So with respect to the Fort McMurray fire, it continues to burn out of control. The wildfire is now estimated to be roughly 355,000 hectares. It was 285,000 hectares yesterday, so as you can imagine, that represents significant growth. Mother Nature continues to be our foe in this regard and not our friend. We have another hot day today, around 25 degrees in the Wood Buffalo region with humidity of 20%. Winds are from the west at 20 kilometers per hour, gusting to 35. Now, good news at the Cheecham Tank Farm, the fire line has held and winds are now blowing to the east away from the facility. So we're pleased about that. On the other hand, last night, all industry work camps north of Fort McMurray and south of Fort Mackay were issued a mandatory evacuation order. This includes the Syncrude and Suncor facilities south of Fort Mackay, Ruth Lake, Borealis Lodge, Millennium Lodge, and Hudson. All non-essential staff, about 8,000 people, have been evacuated mostly to the north. The remaining staff will ensure site safety and stability while it is safe to do so, and plans are in place to evacuate them if and when needed. We expect fire growth in the area of many of these camps today. Already we've been told that Black Sands Lodge, a privately operated accommodation for oil sands workers, has been destroyed by fire. 665 units were lost. Other facilities along the Astra Road, including Neralta Lodge, which has 3,700 rooms, and Birch Creek, which has 360 rooms, are evacuated and are currently at risk. So this area will be the primary focus of suppression efforts today by firefighters. And as I've already said, weather conditions will make this work extremely challenging. In particular, the focus will be on the Northlands Products sawmill and on industrial camps that I've just mentioned. Westerly winds will push the fire closer to Suncor and Syncrude, but we expect very high resiliency with both those facilities. In the community, firefighters will work jointly, both municipal as well as provincial, to hold the Parsons Creek and Thickwood area. They were, of course, they weren't threatened ultimately yesterday at all. We've now, however, had disturbing news from Fort McMurray this morning that we did have 2 separate explosions within the city, damaging roughly 10 homes in the communities of Dickensfield and Thickwood. These fires were swiftly controlled and put out promptly by firefighters with the municipality. In terms of preparing the community for re-entry, work continues to be hampered by extremely poor air quality. Yesterday, on a scale of 1 to 10, the Air Quality Health Index in Fort McMurray did reach 38 in some places. Now it's sitting around 13, much lower than yesterday, but still very high, and with inversion processes, it's still possible that it could go higher. This poses a serious risk for first responders and recovery workers in the area, and so it has the potential to stall recovery efforts, and we're seeing a bit of that already. We had hoped to start bringing retail partners back into the community so that services such as grocery stores and pharmacies would be up and running when residents return. That plan is now on hold because of air quality concerns. However, the good news is that most of the retail facilities are intact and will be able to get up and running relatively quickly once the air clears. Where it is safe to do so, recovery work and preparations for reentry do continue. I'm told that electricity service has been restored to most of the undamaged areas of Fort McMurray and to all areas of Anzac and the Fort McMurray First Nation. Gas service has been restored to more than 60% of the city. But yesterday, when the fire flared up west of town, ATCO staff were evacuated to Mariana Lakes and their work was interrupted and therefore delayed. The 400 workers who had been brought in to prepare the Fort McMurray Hospital for reopening have also now been evacuated from the community. So we're hoping that they can start coming back up to carry on that work soon. Structural damage assessments of homes and other buildings are effectively completed. There were over 19,000 structures to inspect, and all but 7 have been done, and I expect that, of course, will be completed today. So far, 89% of structures inspected have been deemed safe to occupy, and only 10% have been destroyed. And about 1% of structures need a closer look to establish their condition. So ultimately, slightly more optimistic numbers than what we had originally estimated last week. Of course, these numbers will change a little bit with the fire activity in Thickwood and Dickinsfield that we saw this morning. I understand the regional municipality of Wood Buffalo is working to get higher resolution images out today, but the picture that is emerging is one where the community is mostly intact, notwithstanding significant losses in some parts of the city. So the government of Alberta has been discussing a re-entry plan with the municipality of Wood Buffalo. Obviously, yesterday's events have caused us to take a second look at those plans. Safety will be and must be our first and principal priority. And I hope to have more to say about our specific re-entry plans within the week. As of the end of day yesterday, 30,232 debit cards have been distributed, totaling $65.7 million and helping just over 63,000 people. Lines are getting shorter at the debit card sites, resulting in people being helped more quickly. And we're reminding people to bring government-issued identification, if they have it, when they come to collect their debit cards. We did hold another telephone town hall yesterday evening and had 10,600 people roughly participating. Another town hall will be held this evening. And we're getting between 2,000 and 3,000 calls a day on the 310-4455 emergency line. We know those who live and work in the Fort McMurray area have a number of questions, and we're doing our best to answer them. Before I take any questions, or anyone else does, I'll ask Chad to provide a more detailed update on the fire situation, and then Scott will be available to answer questions as they come. So, thank you.
Thank you, Premier. Chad Morrison with Alberta Wildfire. So as the Premier noted, the fire is now at over 354,000 hectares. Due to the extreme wildfire conditions we had yesterday, an excursion on the western flank moved north parallel to the community of Fort McMurray and threatened the oil and gas and industrial facilities to the north. It is held just south of these main oil and gas and oil sands facilities, south of Suncor and Syncrude, but it has impacted, as the Premier noted, the Black Sands Lodge. Today we expect these strong west winds and hot and dry conditions again to challenge firefighters in extreme wildfire conditions. We expect the excursion now to move east towards the Suncor's facility, Northland Sawmill, and potentially towards northern portions of Fort McMurray. But we're still optimistic the firefighters will continue to hold those northern neighborhoods of Thickwood, Timberley, and Parsons Creek. We have everybody deployed in those neighborhoods, as well as we have very good fire guards built with dozers in the area. And we continue to work with our air tankers and helicopters to support those operations. Much of the area around the neighborhoods are already burnt by the original fire, so this actually will provide a very good fire guard for firefighters to work from. So as we noted, a number of the camps as well as the Northland Sawmill site remain at risk. The sawmill has sprinklers deployed around the site, and they have done a good job of clearing with a fire guard with dozers around the facility to be ready for the fire. When the oil sands sites have large fuel and vegetation breaks and are very resilient to wildfires, and so obviously their industry firefighting resources are ready. The fire has jumped the Athabasca River in the past, but I will note as well that the Athabasca River is in front of the Suncor facility, and so we hope it will provide a good fire break that we can work from as well there. We expect the eastern front of this fire to reach the Saskatchewan border, likely today with the western winds. But it is a dynamic situation, and extreme fire conditions exist. And we don't see any relief at this point until we see some rain in the forecast. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Premier.
Take questions from the floor and then from the phone.
Premier, for the last 2 weeks, you've been telling a lot of folks in Fort McMurray that you'll let them go back when it's safe. Why was the decision made that it was safe for 8,000 oil workers to go back?
Well, because most of them were not in the city. They were living in camps that were separate from the city, and they were their daily needs were being separately provided by the companies themselves. So they had their own supply lines, they had their own health services, and they had their own accommodation. So those companies had originally freed up that space for evacuees from Fort McMurray. But once those folks managed to come south, because of course there were more services down south than there were in there, the companies resumed using those places because they had never been the subject of evacuation orders.
So now those workers have gone further north. How are you going to get them out if the fire keeps moving that way?
Well, at this point, the fire's not moving north; it's moving towards the east. So we're told that it's not a significant concern. But that being said, as we saw with the original evacuation, the oil and gas industry was remarkable in terms of their ability to airlift 15,000 residents of Fort McMurray out of their camps through air, and so they assure us that they're more than able to evacuate the remaining roughly 6,000 folks who are on a very temporary basis moved further north.
But now that those
Should they
camps are
need
under a
to.
mandatory evacuation order, are the same rules that apply to Fort Mac, are those going to apply to the camps as well?
Absolutely.
In terms of the re-entry?
Oh, in terms of the reentry. Well, I think I mean it's going to be. Yes, absolutely. They'll have to assure that the camps are viable and survive the fire, and that they have the same kind of services available to them as would be necessary in Fort McMurray. But the issue with Fort McMurray, just to be clear, is that there's it has infrastructure that provides support. Like lifetime, we live in this city 24/7, 365 days a year, support to the residents of the community. And so that's why it's all interrelated and interconnected. So it's designed differently than the shorter cycle of accommodation which exists in the camps.
We've heard from workers who say that they feel stuck. They want to get out of there, and they're feeling as though they're not being allowed to evacuate. They're saying that they've been stuck on buses, they've been stuck moving around. They want to get out, and these companies aren't letting them. What do you say?
Well, at this point, we're not, the highway itself is not open for people to be evacuating on the ground southerly. So that's the big issue right now, because as Chad will explain to you, with the fire moving towards the east, the Highway 63 is very likely to be threatened today at some point, and the odds are good that it may be closed for a period of time. So I'm not. I don't know if you want to speak more to the evacuation efforts, but you okay.
So Scott Long, Executive Director, Operations, Alberta Emergency Management Agency. First, I'll say we're in complete lockstep with industry. We're in complete agreement with regards to the evacuations. Yesterday, again, 8,000 workers evacuated safely in a controlled manner. Some to the south along Highway 63. The majority have gone north, as the Premier's mentioned. We had conversations this morning, and industry, in conjunction with us and the Regional Emergency Operations Center in Wood Buffalo, are looking at other contingency plans for evacuation by ground and by air. And again, I'll remind, as the Premier has mentioned, they have quite the capacity to move people through airlift. So as it stands right now, those northern camps are not under threat, and we do have the time and space required to conduct an orderly evacuation if required. And those plans and that discussion is ongoing.
But those people who are there and want to leave and aren't being allowed to leave just have to wait until the industry says that it's okay.
I'm not aware of anybody who's being prevented from leaving, so I can't talk to that. But Highway 63 right now for ground traffic is north of Fort McMurray, is being watched closely and monitored, and it's probably not safe given the conditions of the fire blowing in that direction. Once it blows through, which we expect to happen today. It'll be all the fuel in that area will be burned through. So Highway 63 we expect to quickly reopen later today or this evening. And as soon as it does, it will be absolutely open for ground transportation to the south.
We've got two separate explosions today then in Port McMurray? We've got two?
Last night, there were two separate explosions reported by the Regional Emergency Operations Center in Wood Buffalo. One in the Dickensfield area, as the Premier has mentioned, and the other one in the Thickwood area. They are under investigation, but this is why we have 170 structural firefighters still in Fort McMurray. They were well positioned. As soon as these things happened, they were dealt with promptly to mitigate as much as they could the damage, but there were some additional structures that residents that did burn as a result of those two explosions. Why? Under investigation. It could have been a number of different factors, and I can't tell you why.
Were you putting gas back into those homes at the time?
I can't comment on that. I don't know.
Potentially, how dangerous are these fires to the oil sands sites in the mines?
Chad?
Sure. Yeah, Chad with Alberta Wildfire. So I've been on these fires up in here in 2011. So to the north of this, generally these sites with the lack of vegetation, the trees removed, are very resilient to wildfire. And so the issues are for us are the industrial camps, the Northlands facility at this point. So in the past, the experience has taught us that because they're clear vegetation, have lots of gravel on site, and they have an industrial firefighting service on site as well that understands this. And we're working closely with them. That again, we feel fairly confident that the sites themselves will be okay.
Can the sand actually catch on fire?
From our experience in 2011, we didn't see that. So we had, like I said, numerous wildfires around there. But again, I'm not an expert on such things. The industrial firefighting folks would be able to speak more to that. But again, from our experiences in 2011 with the large Richardson wildfire, we didn't have that turned into an issue for us.
So how close is the fire to the actual facilities right now?
See if I have, I'll pull up a map here if I can. So as you can see, the fire is bumped up to the south and around the outside of the Suncor facility. With the westerly winds today, we actually expect that again to push towards the highway into the Athabasca River. So the Syncrude facility to the north, we expect favorable winds, so that to be less of an impact there. And then as well, with the Athabasca River and Highway 63 in between the Suncor site and the fact that the Suncor site, as you can see, that doesn't have vegetation on it, are less of a concern right now. Although, of course, we're very concerned and wanting to protect all the facilities there. Our number one priority right now is to make sure we maintain and protect the community of Fort McMurray. Then some of the other ones and factors there, obviously, there's the Northland sawmill site and some of those industrial camps that are very important support facilities there too. So again, in those forested areas, that's our main primary concern. And like I said, we feel that there's good resilience with the industrial sites.
Chad, as far as the risk to the neighborhoods, to Timberlea, to Parsons Creek, you said that there's good dozer guards in there, there's a burn scar, but at the same time, we were hearing those assurances when the initial evacuations happened. We were hearing that the dozer guards were in place, that Avocen and Beacon Hill were safe. What's changed? So
to comment to that, actually, I don't recall that being said, but I do believe here that the fire that originally happened there has to be the best guard that we actually can have. Also, too, as we've seen, our firefighters have had extreme success in those neighborhoods in the north and have done very, very well there. So we are very optimistic that we'll continue to hold there. And then as well, we've had the ability and time. We've had some good firefighting days last week and got a bunch of dozer guard in around those communities itself. So that will actually also help hold and assist it, and as well as with having all the firefighters and the sprinklers, as well as numerous air attack and helicopter resources that we can do to support there.
Are you talking about rooftop sprinklers, like people that?
We use it in vegetation on the side, on the edges, so yeah.
We'll take Fletcher's question and then we're going to go to the phone lines.
How many camps are potentially threatened today? Some probably more so than others, but how many are you worried about?
When I say camps, I'm referring to work camps, essentially accommodations and rations. And right now, one, Black Sands, as the Premier's mentioned, has been destroyed. Noralta Lodge and Birch Mountain / Poplar Creek are all in the area where it's being threatened. The winds are blowing the fire towards those areas. I know that there have been mitigation measures put in place, but whether they hold or not, I'm not sure.
And what happens if it hits the facilities?
Well, the facilities have been all evacuated safely yesterday. If we lose 665 bed spaces, then it can be rebuilt. The key is that people were all safely evacuated yesterday. They are all empty, and it's just facilities. So right now our focus is on, again, always public safety, critical infrastructure in terms of Suncor, and as Chad has mentioned, obviously Parsons Creek, Thickwood, and Timberlea areas. That is where the majority of the effort is today.
We're going to go to the phone lines now. Operator, please put through the first caller. You can come back.
The first caller is Dawn Brait from the Calgary Herald.
Just an overall question. Given what happened in Fort McMurray last night with what I take it were explosions rather than fire caused, fire triggered by other fire, can you tell us what your assessment is of whether Fort McMurray is actually safe from serious renewed fire damage? And as a subsidiary of that, is there actually any fire still burning within the boundaries of Fort McMurray itself?
I think it's fair to say that there are hot spots that are being very closely monitored by firefighting staff and by first responders. But there are no fires currently in place in Fort McMurray. And as everyone keeps identifying, and it's important to remember that the upside to when the city is threatened and then firefighters succeed in pushing back the fire is that more burn guard is put in place, and so more and more is burning outside, and where the more that's burned around the edges of Fort McMurray, the more secure it becomes. So at this point, it's just a matter of planning for safe reentry and a considered and thoughtful approach to getting services back up. And when you're turning on a switch and starting a city of 90,000 people, sometimes stuff happens, and that's why officials have been reinforcing, and we are reinforcing, that we're not going to have people going back until we know it's safe. And that's and what those two incidents last night demonstrated to us is that that's the right way to go, that we need to make sure that we've got everything queued up before people come back in, because we want to make sure it's safe.
Did you have a follow-up, Don?
That's okay, thanks.
Okay. There's a number of questions on the phone, so I'm going to take the calls from the phone and then I'll come back to the floor. Okay, guys? Operator, please put through the next caller.
The next caller is Nia Williams from Reuters.
Hi. Do you think you underestimated the fire, and will you be asking for more outside help again, given firefighters must be exhausted after 2 weeks of this?
Well, I'll say a preliminary answer to that and then pass it on to Chad. But no, I think right from the very outset, this fire has gotten a tremendous amount of attention, and we've been always very cautious very aware of its capacity to grow and its capacity to turn around depending on the winds, and always watching what's burned and what hasn't, and what threat those things that haven't burned could potentially allow for. So certainly in the briefings that we've been receiving, we've been aware of this, and this is why we're taking a more careful approach to planning reentry, because we know that we have to make sure that these other hazards are well addressed before people go back. But in terms of firefighting resources, we're certainly assured that we have all that we need right now, and work is underway to liaise with our provincial counterparts as well as international counterparts under agreements that are in place between the province and those bodies. But that being said, I don't know, Chad, if you want to offer anything else to that.
Yeah, it's Chad with Alberta Wildfire. We were fortunate to have some cooler weather last week, but we haven't seen significant rain in this area for over 2 months. So we always have known that this is an extreme wildfire that we have to deal with in extreme fire environments. That being said, resource-wise, we continue to pour firefighters in here when safe to do so. We have firefighters from across Canada, and I think pretty much from every single province. We continue to get great support from our municipal partners throughout the province on the structural side, and as well throughout Canada on the wildfire side. And as the Premier noted, we also have agreements as well, that we have our international agreements, and our international partners have reached out to us. When we need to bring those folks in, we will. We've already cycled a bunch of our firefighters and crew out with fresh folks, so we have a bunch of fresh firefighters in there now as we speak. And then as the summer wears on, we're just at the beginning of fire season right now, and so we want to make sure that we're bringing in firefighters when safe to do so, getting them deployed as quickly as we can, and then we have support from international partners when we need to pull from and draw from. At this point, we have this one main fire as our primary concern, but we're continuing to draw from resources across Canada at this time. And when we exhaust those is when we'll be going to go international as required. And we have done so in the past. As of last year, we used Mexico, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, and many folks from the U.S. as well. So those partners are obviously there to support us if we need them as well.
Operator, please put through the next call. Go ahead, Nia. Operator, please put through the next caller.
The next caller is Jeff Lewis from the Globe and Mail.
Hi, two quick questions. What is the proximity of fires to the Ruth Lake and Dover substations operated by ATCO, and are they at risk?
The Scott Long, Executive Director, Operations, Alberta Emergency Management Agency. Right now, we're not aware of any threat to those particular ones, certainly in the Ruth Lake area, which is north of the Syncrude facility. In fact, the Syncrude facility itself and the mitigation measures that they have in place offers a really good protection for that piece of critical infrastructure to the north.
There have been hopes for a quick restart to oil sands production that was lost due to the emergency shutdowns. Is there any sense now, or how much of a delay are you looking at before operations can resume? And will you be more cautious before giving companies a green light to restart?
Well, to be clear, a number of them have restarted or are in restart processes that are north of here. So that work is underway. I think really the timelines with respect to restart are more within the parameters of the companies in terms of what they believe that they can do safely. And so again, they will work with them to ensure that when restart begins, that it's done safely. But had Syncrude restarted yet? I don't think. Yeah, no. So I think Syncrude was still in the process of evaluating the safest mechanisms for their restart. So that work had been underway. They too essentially were doing that recovery work before they actually flipped the switch, and so then that's been delayed a bit. But we'll see how long. And then I'm not exactly sure what the state of play was for Suncor, but I would urge you to contact those companies specifically.
Operator, please put through the next caller.
The next caller is Jeremy Slimes from Metro News.
Hi there, Premier. So, just given you guys anticipated, the fire was active yesterday, and you guys say you're being cautious. Was it a mistake to send, 8,000 oil workers yesterday to these camps?
Well, to be clear, they actually went up last week, many of them. Some hadn't even left, quite honestly, because, for instance, certain companies I don't know if Shell ever shut down, for instance, as an example. So they were many miles away from the city. And so, what we've done as a result is we've watched the fire, and where it started to become a threat, the REOC down in Fort McMurray itself issued evacuation orders. And so, as Scott has already identified, everybody was evacuated safely. And so that's, I think as long as that continues to be the way that we move forward, that's a good way to go forward. But we're obviously keeping an eye on it. This is a big fire. Theoretically, one could evacuate half the province, but we have to be cautious and careful and thoughtful, ensure that we have good safety protocols in place, and issue the evacuation orders when necessary, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Right, and then for Scott or Chad, why were people sent north and not south? I know lots of people have been complaining. At least I've spoken to you about the north wasn't the best place for them to go.
To answer your question, people did go south. Syncrude did send a number of workers south, and I believe Suncor did as well. But at the time, and in accordance with their own emergency management plans, they did move workers to oil and gas infrastructure further to the north, which is currently not threatened at all. And as Chad has already briefed, we're hopeful that as of today that they won't be threatened after today.
We're very tight for time now, guys. So I'm going to come back to the floor for the people who waved at me. I know each of you have a question. There's one here, and Dean, and then we'll have to wrap up. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question for Premier. Conference Board of Canada put out a release today saying loss of oil production will average about 1.2 million barrels per day for 14 days, translating to roughly 985 million in lost real GDP, or 0.33%. Your reaction to that?
Well, we've already been meeting with officials pretty regularly to get our own estimates of what the impact would be. But of course, those impacts are very much dependent on, where this ends and what's open and what's not, and how long the startups are for each particular facility. So it's still a bit of a moving target. But those numbers are in the range of the kinds of things that we've seen. And typically, in instances like that, you'll see a drop in GDP because of the drop in production, and then you'll see a bump in GDP because of the rebuilding efforts. And so that's the cycle, and what they're describing is certainly an accurate description of the general cycle. The actual numbers, it's too early to tell.
When do you reevaluate sort of your fiscal plan?
I think you have to have actual numbers in order to rewrite your fiscal plan. So that's what we're going to do, is wait till we have those.
Were people evacuated from Map Island last night, and if so, who and why?
I'm not aware of that. I'll check with the Regional Emergency Operations Center in Wood Buffalo, who are coordinating that activity. We can get you that answer.
Question for the Premier. Who's making sure these workers that are there are safe, and who's coordinating how they get out and where they go? There are some people that are still there, right?
There are certainly people that are there. Our emergency management folks are in direct contact with the companies. The companies themselves have very involved and extensive emergency management plans and employee safety plans in situations like this. So we're keeping track that that's all unfolding the way it should. And then, of course, we still of course, have our own labor department where people who have concerns can get in touch and let us know if there are concerns that we can also follow up through those mechanisms.
Do you know how many people that is?
Well, I think we've got our rough estimate, and it's very rough, is I think there's around 6,000 that went north and around 2,000 that went south. That's a rough estimate. Is that about right?
From those, those oil and gas infrastructure.
Yeah, from the ones that were evacuated, yes.
Sorry, but how many people remain still there?
Oh, just generally north?
No, at the facilities and plants.
Oh, within the facilities, I think you have those.
78 in Syncrude, and I believe there are 8 industrial firefighters in Suncor.
So 78 in Syncrude and 8 in Suncor.
Dean's question, and then we'll wrap up.
Premier, and for Scott, I'm confused on this homes thing, because you're saying, under investigation, you're suggesting a switch was flipped. I guess if I'm a resident of Fort McMurray right now, it doesn't sound like this was a fire that caused this explosion. It sounds like this was human error.
No, I wouldn't say that it was human error, but what I will say is because we don't know the answer, and because there were 2 explosions, and we lost 10 homes, in the absence of this fire, if we had 10 homes burn, of course, that would be, everybody would be looking just at that, and it's in the context of this larger fire. So I don't know the answer, but because I don't know the answer, what it does suggest is that there's a level of volatility that needs to be removed.
I get that, Premier, but I mean, you must have an idea what, if there was gas being redirected into these homes,
you bet,
and boom, there's an explosion. I mean, are you stopping now? Are you cutting back? Are you taking steps? If I'm a Fort McMurray refugee, I want to know that the house that you stayed in the fire is not going to be...
Yeah, I think it just highlights, again, the uncertainty of the challenges with re-entry planning and re-establishing essential services. The Premier's mentioned, we've restored 60% of the gas infrastructure in Fort McMurray. No explosions. So we had to. Part of the challenge is that we are not going into anyone's homes at all. So what caused it, how it came about, unknown. It could have been a number of factors. That's why I say it is under investigation. And the
full steam ahead, though, with the gas, even though some homes are blowing up. It sounds like that's kind of the cost of doing business.
It is under investigation, and based on that, they will continue. They will look at the way forward. Is what I would suggest.
Are you changing how you're bringing power back to Fort McMurray based on the fact you've got 2 random explosions?
Not as far as I know. At this point in time, they're not. That's why they're under investigation. Pending the results, they may look at doing things differently. But again, I refer back 60% of the oil and gas, of the gas infrastructure in Fort McMurray was activated without any issues.
We're going to leave it there today. Thanks, guys.